Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Hyder Center for this District A6 semifinal matchup between the Creighton Prep Junior Jays, top seed in the district, and the Omaha Bryan Bears, fourth seed in the district. Tyler Reedy and Brendan Prizeman here to bring it to you. Brendan, great to be back. We got warm weather outside. Spring is in the air, and that means it is playoff time here in the NSAA.
Yeah, pretty big week for sports all around. I mean, track, baseball, golf, all their practices, soccer as well, all their practices started today. But right now, everybody's focused on basketball. Even the baseball players, we saw them warming up on the field when we got here. They're all sitting in the stands now. They are ready. It's a rematch of a game that happened a couple weeks ago. And a lot of these guys wearing blue are hoping for a similar result. It's Prep and Bryan in the district game. But anything could happen. You never know.
Yeah, so let's set the table for this matchup. The semifinal bracket, you see Prep and Bryan on that left side. Coming up next here, the 1v4. And then the other game, Lincoln Northeast, the 2 seed, Grand Island, the 3 seed. That one will tip off in about 30 minutes. So Prep, if they can get it done here tonight, would host either Lincoln Northeast or Grand Island. If Bryan were to pull the upset, the winner of the 2-3 game would be the host in that one. So let's take a look at the visitors from Omaha Bryan. The Bears coming in at 6-16. Their NSAA wildcard point total slots them in at 23rd in the district, or rather in the state in Class A. Had a close game, 52-50 loss to Millard North. Opened a lot of eyes in the first round of the Metro Holiday Tournament in December. A couple other nice wins against Omaha South and Papillion La Vista, but Omaha Bryan, just like Creighton Prep, coming in not playing their greatest basketball of the year. They've scored 40 points or less in 3 of their last 4 regular season games. So, Brendan, what are you watching for with the Bears here today?
Well, I like that you brought up the Millard North game because that could be potentially one of the most interesting games when you look at this Bryan team season, because they were very, very close to upsetting a Millard North team that many have as the state champs this year. But Bryan won the rebound battle in that pretty easily. 36 rebounds for them, only 28 for the Mustangs. But the key was they went cold in the fourth quarter, scored just 7 points in the final frame. Mustangs scored 13 and were able to escape. But, I mean, that's really Bryan's 2 big things. Like, yes, you're going to get a lot of great rebounding. This team is a very good rebounding team. They're averaging 27 rebounds a game, which is over 5 more than Prep is, but their offense does have a tendency to go cold at times, and it's really been doing that these past couple of weeks. So there's a chance that they keep this really close with Prep and maybe even pull a shocker, but there's also a real chance that they don't crack 45 points. So,
well, the other side, Creighton Prep Junior Jays, 15-7, their regular season record, slotted in at 6th in the state for wild card points. 1-6 against the other district hosts. They've struggled against the teams ranked ahead of them this season, but they've got a couple nice resume wins. The 62-32 Christmas in the Cage blowout over Lincoln Southwest, who is number 10 in the wild card point rankings, and then the 62-46 win over Papio South on the road. Titans are number 7. But Junior Jays, just like Bryan, coming in on a bit of a slide. They dropped their final 3 games of the regular season, but a great chance to bounce back here tonight, Brendan.
yeah, I'd agree. And I mean, I think with all of those games, you've got a little bit of extenuating circumstances. With the Rockhurst loss, that's a bus trip to Kansas City, and then you got to play a basketball game. You can't really expect too much out of that Prep team after that. With Millard North, they played really well. They just couldn't stop Jason Green and David Harmon. And then when they played at Omaha Central, they only had one player show up. That was Luke Jungers, who set a new career high with 30 points. But, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a cold streak so much as they're just running into a very, very tough schedule. And now they do get a bit of a brief respite with this district game because none of the other 3 teams in their bracket right now, Lincoln Northeast, Grand Island, Bryan, none of those teams really strike me as contenders for the state title as much as Omaha North or Millard North and Omaha Central do. So this is a real chance for them to bounce back. If they're going to do that, though, I think it has to be balanced. You can't afford saying, all right, Luke, we're going to need you to get another 30-point game tonight because otherwise we might lose.
So speaking of Luke, let's talk about him and put him side by side with the star of Omaha Bryan, Lam Kawani. Jungers, not as strong of a scorer as Kawani this year, as well as a rebounder. Lam Kawani, 18.1 points per game. That's good for 4th in the state, and his 8.7 rebounds per game as well.
Also 4th, yeah.
Yep,
so
4th in the state as well in that category. But Jungers, better shooter by a pretty wide margin. He's been excellent from three-point land this year, 47%. His free throw shooting has been excellent as of late, he's made his last 12 consecutive free throws in the last couple of games. And Jungers, you see in those last 2 games, 53 points scored. Kewanee has been cold in the last couple, only scoring 6. So that'll be the key matchup to watch for tonight.
It certainly will, and it's interesting because in a lot of ways, it's like the Jason Green-Luke Jungers matchup, which we were able to cover on this network a couple of weeks ago, because on one side you've got Jungers, who's far more of the long-range shooter, far more of a finesse type of player who even brings the ball up at times, and then you've got he's going up against a guy like Jason Green or like Lam Kewanee, and they're more of like the bruiser. They're going to kill you inside consistently. They're going to get a lot of offensive rebounds and potentially force your defense to collapse in on them. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, but both of these guys are pretty solid defenders. And I think the best case for Prep, honestly, is that they can neutralize each other, because you go down the rosters, and Prep's got Casey O'Malley and Martell Evans. Bryan doesn't really have any guys who can compare to them. I mean, Amari Bynum, the freshman, has shown a lot of promise this year and will probably be really good in the future, but he's nowhere near the player or scorer that Martell, Casey, or even a guy like Joey Rischel is. So I think if you're Bryan, what you're really hoping for is that Kewanee can outplay Jungers even by a little bit, and that you can force Prep into missing a lot of perimeter shots. If you can do that, you might have a chance to pull the upset.
Junior Jays and Bears have already met this season back on Saturday, January 22nd. Aside from the Miller North game, that was the last home game Creighton Prep had. It's been all on the road down the stretch this season, but Prep able to win that one over Bryan, 72-35 in that Saturday afternoon clash. Luke Jungers, the leading scorer, with 20 points. Prep was excellent from the field, 53%. Also 23 assists as well. Prep was moving the ball around great. And then Bryan on the other side, Lam Kewanee was the only source of offense with 24 points, 10 rebounds, 16 team turnovers, and just 38% from the field. So Bryan definitely hoping for more widespread production today as they look to pull the upset. We will have the national anthem, starters, and tip-off right after this.
Creighton Prep in January 1964. He was an assistant basketball coach for 6 years before taking over in 1971 for Tom Brosnahan. Wilmot's teams were 341 and 129 in 22 seasons, with state championships in 1976 and 1981. He was also former football coach Tom Jaworski's longtime defensive coordinator. The Junior Jays were state football champions 7 times in the 1980s. After Prep, he spent a year working at a refugee camp in northern Uganda before returning to Omaha to help build and operate Jesuit Middle School in North Omaha. Brother Wilmot also founded JC Housing, an organization that provides low-income families the opportunity to purchase their own homes. Bro, as he affectionately became known to his friends and colleagues, will be dearly missed by many in the Omaha community. Please join us in a brief moment of silence to remember the life of Brother Bryan. Thank you. Please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem.
Sit back and take for some messages on the
Welcome back to the Hyder Center. Prep and Bryan about ready to go in this district semifinal matchup on CPSN. Tyler Reedy and Brennan Prizeman here to bring it to you. Let's give you the starters for tonight's game. First for the visiting Bears, number 2, London Williams, a junior guard. 9 games with 3 or more assists this year for him. Number 15, Matt Tutt, a junior forward, had a career-high 5 block shots against Millard West in Bryan's last game. Number 23, TJ Brown, a senior. He scored in 21 of Bryan's 22 games played, a consistent producer for the Bears. Number 33, Amare Bynum, the freshman, has 3 double-doubles this season. And the man who leads them, the star, number 35, Lam Kuwani, the senior. Team leader in points per game and rebounds per game, 18.1 and 8.7 respectively. Then on the other side for the Junior Jays, number 0, Luke Jungers, 53 points in his last 2 games played. Number 4, PJ Newbill, the junior, had 6 points, 4 assists, 3 steals against Bryan on January 22nd. Number 5, Joey Rischel, the junior guard, 3rd in Class A and 3-pointers made. Number 10, Casey O'Malley, the senior guard, 12th in Class A in 3-pointer percentage. And number 20, Martell Evans, the senior guard, 2nd on the team in points per game and the team leader in assists per game. So, Mr. Prizeman, who are we watching for tonight with Prep and Bryan?
Well, I would say for Bryan, it's Amari Bynum. We talked about him a little bit, and he's 32nd Class A in rebounds, 12th in blocks as a freshman. Really only 6'4", but he's got a great wingspan. His big issue, though, can be shooting. He was 2 of 10 in Bryan's 35-72 loss here in the Hyder Center a little over a month ago on January 22nd. And then for Prep, I'm looking at Martell Evans. He's scored 15 or more points in a game twice this calendar year, but has had a couple of cold streaks occasionally this season. If he can get going and help lead Prep's offense, if Jungers gets shut down by Kwani, then Prep will probably win pretty easily.
We've got a correction. Wool Kuth is starting the game for Bryan. Matt Tutt is at the scorer's table, however. Bryan wins the tip. They've got the basketball to start. This is Bynum on the far side. London Williams back to Bynum. Kwani on the inside. Juggled for a moment. Kicks it out. There's Kuth for 3. High arcing shot is missed. Offensive board, Kwani. Layup try doesn't go. Rebound still with Bryan as London Williams picks it up.
And that is not necessarily a good possession for that Prep defense. You do not want Bryan to keep getting opportunities.
Step back 3, TJ Brown is short. Rebound, Joey Rischel. And 40 seconds into the game, Prep will have its first possession. Martell Evans to PJ Newbill. Into Jungers, coming off a career-high 30 points at Central. O'Malley drives. O'Malley scores. 2-0 Junior Jays a minute into the ball game.
Good drive there by Casey O'Malley, and you can see both these teams kind of falling into their tendencies early. Bryan taking a lot of threes, but Prep just driving right to the hoop.
And there's Kwani driving right to the hoop and banking it in off the glass. We are tied at 2.
That was a tough drive. Kwani not too much of a dribbler, but able to hold on to the ball through the Prep defense. They don't want that to keep happening, or he might torch him like he did last game. 24 points, 10 rebounds for him on January 22nd against the Junior Jays.
O'Malley out to Evans, giving some space in the corner. Jungers to Newbill. 6:30 to go in the first quarter. Game tied at 2. Evans to O'Malley. Now Newbill. Junior Jays taking their time. Bryan with disciplined defense. Now Newbill will go in. Stutter step, knocked away and taken away by Bynum. Kwani lost it, however, and O'Malley able to pick it up.
And I think Prep should try and pick the pace of the game up a little bit. They're a much higher scoring team than Bryan. And when you get the game slowed down, you allow Bryan's defense to really get set. And you can see Bryan on the fast break, clearly not that adept at running the ball with pace. So I think if you're Prep, you try and speed up the pace of this game a little bit.
Here's O'Malley. Prep still without an open look here as they continue to work it around the perimeter. Now Evans spins his way into the paint. Can't score. Rebound is knocked to Omaha Bryan. That'll be TJ Brown bringing it ahead. Brown trying to work in on Evans. Back out to London Williams, and now Kwani will hold. Kwani drives. He spins. Scoop try is short. Rebound Jungers, and he is fouled on the floor.
I like what Bryan's doing offensively early, really kind of spreading the floor for Lam Kwani and letting him drive. He's not necessarily a great handler of the ball, but he's able to use his bulk to push in on Jungers and get a decent look, even if he's not making all of them.
So Matt Tutt, who was originally supposed to be the starter for Bryan, now checks in for Wolkuth. And it's prep basketball, game still tied at 2. PJ Newbill works his way in on Bynum, trying to create space. He does, can't finish. Second effort doesn't go. And it's an Omaha Bryan rebound. Bynum has it over to London Williams. Now a three-point try. That's Brown. That one goes. TJ Brown from the wing. It's 5-2 Bears.
This is a pretty sloppy game early for both sides, but a defensive miscue for Prep leads to an easy shot. They got to shore those up because Bryan so far has made very little mistakes on defense.
Jungers fakes the three, wearing those bright green shoes as Martell Evans picks it up for the Junior Jays. 4.5 to go in the first quarter. Only 2 points for Prep so far.
It's pretty similar to the way last game went. I mean, Bryan was within double digits as the game went to halftime, and we were both at that game in the stands. I remember talking to you like, is this going to happen? Because they were keeping it close, and it looks like so far they're doing that again. It goes back to the running a little bit because right now Bryan has been dictating the pace of the game very, very well. And if Prep wants to start getting some separation, they're going to have to start moving the ball a little quicker and taking advantage of fast breaks.
Hebner and Knight into the game for O'Malley and Newbill. There's Kwani with a three. That one is long, and the rebound comes to Hebner.
It's not the shot you want Lam Kwani getting, especially when they've been playing pretty decently on offense so far.
They're going to get Kwani for a blocking foul as Jungers drove his way in along the baseline. That will be the second team foul against Bryan. 3:59 to go in the first quarter as Rischel will inbound. Casey O'Malley has the only 2 prep points of the game. There's Jungers. He adds 2 more. That is his 300th career-made field goal. And now a turnover. Hebner driving in. He scores, and Prep takes the lead at 6-5.
And that's what you want. You want Prep to start pressuring Bryan and forcing them to make those long passes because those are difficult plays to make for Bryan.
Tough try on the other end, and able to draw the foul was Matt Tutt. He is going to go to the free throw line for 2 shots. Foul called against Luke Jungers. First team foul against Prep.
So both bigs with 2 early fouls. A little over halfway through this first quarter. It's going to be interesting to see if that'll affect the game at all.
Tutt at the free throw line. 39% free throw shooter on the year, but he makes the first.
You sound shocked.
That was his first attempt since February 3rd, so it's been a little while for him.
Ah.
And he goes 1 for 2 as the second try rims out. Game tied at 6, 3:30 to go in the first quarter. Emmett Knight hands to Rischel. Jungers and Kwani matched up together. Hebner to Rischel. Fakes a three, guarded tightly by Williams. That gets the Bryan bench fired up.
Yeah, the defense of Bryan so far has been incredible. There's only been like a couple of slips on drives. Other than that, there's nothing easy coming for Prep.
Jungers with a strong play going up against Kwani. He scores on the floater. And Prep takes a lead at 8-6.
And even that shot, that was a tough shot from Luke Jungers. It's impressive he made that one. But both defenses stifling in the early going here.
Evans on the handoff from Hebner. Can't bank it in. And Evans will be called for an over the back. Going for the rebound with Bynum.
And that's certainly not an ideal start to the foul game for the Junior Jays. Both Evans and Jungers already with quick fouls in the first quarter. And it's still early, but when the offensive going is this tough, you want your initiators of the offense in the game for as long as possible.
PJ Newbill will take the place of Martell Evans. As Bryan will inbound, they've got Garrett Ballard, the junior number 0 in the game for the first time tonight. He's got the basketball now. Feeds ahead to Amari Bynum.
And Bryan's got a mismatch in the post. Rischel on Kwani.
Here is Kwani right into the chest of Rischel, and he scores. Game tied at 8.
That is not what you want if you're Prep. You have to get either Jungers or if he's in, maybe Owen Shotkoski on Kwani every defensive possession. Because if you get a switch like that, it's barbecue chicken for Kwani.
The matchup of the night, Jungers and Kwani each with 4 points. Here's Hebner for 3 off the feed from Rischel. He misses, and Kwani's got the board. 2:10 to go in the first quarter. Long pass
Ooh.
ahead is overthrown. Kwani looking for Bynum, and it's out of bounds. Prep basketball.
So if we treat this like a heavyweight matchup, who you got the edge so far in the first round, Kwani or Jungers?
It's dead even, I'd say.
Nah, I don't know. I give it to Jungers right now.
Really?
I think he's just been a little bit better at avoiding turnovers. Kwani's got 2 or 3 right now, and they both have 1 foul. So I'd give it to Jungers if only because he's taking care of the ball a little bit better. Other than that, though, you're right. They've both been playing about dead even so far.
And keep an eye on the rebounding game between those two as well. Here comes Jungers. Speaking of turnovers, nearly had one there. Instead, he comes up short on the hook, and Bryan takes over.
They're not letting him get to the hoop easily. They're making him fade away quite a bit, especially Kwani. Oh boy.
Kwani, basketball going all over the place. Rieschel picks him off. Euro
Oh!
he is denied. That was Matt Tutt who had those 5 blocks against Millard West 2 weeks ago. And it's Bryan basketball with 1:30 to go.
I mean, speaking of 2 weeks ago, I feel like these teams are both pretty rusty. It's been a while since either of them have played real high-level basketball, and I think even the Stars are taking a while to get going. That was a risky pass.
Here's the 3-point shot. That one is missed
Oh.
badly, but an offensive rebound and an and one. Matt Tutt making his presence felt for Bryan, and they've got the lead. Foul went against Newbill. That's the 3rd team foul against Prep.
Another lapse for the Junior Jays on defense, and that is something that you really want to avoid because they had good positioning on the rebound. They just couldn't corral it, and as we've seen against other games, most notably Millard West, they've had some trouble corralling rebounds, and that's been their downfall at times.
Free throw missed by Tutt. He's now 1 of 3 from the line.
Speaking of downfalls, Bryan shooting 54% from the charity stripe this year as a team.
Yep, and that total ranks 29th out of 31 in the state.
Who's worse?
Probably Northwest. They're down there too.
Oosh.
Here's Heavner. Crossover. Kick it out. Knight, he's going to pop a 3. That one misses. And Bryan has the basketball with the lead. 45 seconds left in the first. That one knocked out of bounds by Newbill. And the Bears will keep it. Evans and O'Malley back into the game for the Junior Jays.
Prep's doing a really good job attacking Bryan on the press, but I think they should honestly start a little early because most of the defensive rebounds Bryan's been getting have been relatively uncontested, whereas Prep's had to struggle for almost every one they've gotten. So I say if you're Prep, you start the press as soon as a shot goes up. Make sure that Bryan's working to get the rebounds because right now they're not.
What a kick out that was, and a 3 from Ballard is airballed, and it ends up serving as
A pass.
But the foul's going to go against Bryan.
Looked like it. Yeah, it was T.J. Brown. Looked like he might have been trying to get position on the rebound and tried a bit too hard, and they're going to get you for that every time.
Emmett Knight comes out of the game. Joe Sudbeck, number 1 in white, in for the first time for Prep. 20 seconds on the clock in quarter number 1. Junior Jays down by 2. Evans has the ball.
Looks like they're going to hold for the last shot. I kind of feel like Prep should go a little smaller. I think you want as many shooters in as possible.
Evans, tough try, came up well short, got his own rebound, and a foul is going to be called on the floor against Bryan.
That's a very interesting call considering the guy they called it on was on the ground.
Yeah, Coach Galen Goley of Omaha Bryan, a little bit shocked at that one, but 8.1 to go. Prep will inbound.
Yeah, what number did they call it on?
I didn't see. Evans gets the bounce pass inbound and ties the game at 10. Bryan quickly the other way, trying to get a shot off.
Oh.
Bynum on the fadeaway nearly hit it. And we end the first quarter with the game tied at 10. So upset watch in the early going here in the district semifinal. Junior Jays and Bears from Omaha Bryan playing a close one. And Brendan, what are your takeaways from the opening 8 minutes of play?
Well, I feel like both teams have kind of fallen into the worst of themselves early, and that's why the game is still fairly close. I'm not saying that either of these teams are really bad, but, you know, with Bryan, free throws have been kind of their Achilles heel all year, and it continues to be so. Matt Tutt is 1 of 3. He's the only guy who's taken shots from the charity stripe. And then they're also shooting 27% from beyond the arc. They've hit 1 so far. That was from T.J. Brown. Other than that one shot, they are 0 of 6. And even if you take out the last fadeaway at the buzzer by Amari Bynum, they're 0 of 5 from deep. And then for Prep, they're kind of falling into a bit of an offensive stagnation where it's basically get the ball to number 0 or number 20 and hope they can do something with it. Because other than the drive from Casey O'Malley to open the game, basically the only consistent offense Prep has gotten has been off of inbounds plays. That's not good.
And Prep, the second best three-point shooting team in the state in Class A, without a make in that opening quarter.
They've only taken 2. I think they need to take more. I honestly think that they should go with a small lineup. I'm not saying take Jungers out necessarily, but at the very least get a lineup of maybe like Newbill, Riechel, Sudbeck, Hubner, Jungers or something like that. But you're going to need to start stretching the Bryan defense a little bit because they've been playing incredibly all night.
Martell Evans to O'Malley, into Jungers, and he hits the deck. Foul was called as Amari Bynum got him from behind.
And the fans are really not enjoying these calls. Okay, so I don't think the one at the end of the first quarter was a foul. I think the guy on the ground was out of bounds and, like, touched the ball or something.
Okay.
It's interesting. Because I never saw the ref, like, signal a number, so I think it must have just been out of bounds.
O'Malley works his way in. What a move, and speed to the basket for Casey O'Malley, and Prep takes the lead back.
I wonder if you're Prep, if you might try to run the offense more through O'Malley because he's driven only twice, but both times he's been able to get to the hoop fairly easily and score. He's tied for the Prep lead in scoring.
Riechel able to get the tie-up and force the jump ball. Bryan will remain with possession, but they'll give up the arrow to Prep.
Joey Riechel, one of the better defenders on this team, 1.7 steals per game. That leads the team. It's also 18th in Class A. So he's the guy who Prep will really want to lock down. Much like Justin City last year, Riechel is filling that role this year of the guy that you want if you're Prep to lock down an opposing guard scorer.
Kawani back into the game for Bryan after a brief respite. Here's Matt Tutt at the top of the key, working on Evans. There's a jumper from Tutt, and he missed it. Riechel with the one-armed rebound. Sudbeck races up the right side. Back for Evans. Over to Riechel. Joey Riechel still scoreless. He'll try to change it, looking to use the window and miss the three-pointer. And Bryan with the rebound.
Prep's guards, except for O'Malley, Prep's guards are really struggling tonight. They might need to start dumping it off to Jungers or O'Malley and get something going from those guys.
Another steal from Riechel. Jungers able to track it down. He feeds O'Malley on the interior. Back out to Jungers. Double teamed. Riechel over to Evans.
The Bryan fans making their dissatisfaction with the referees known. There's a lot of calls that are not going their way.
Evans able to draw the call as he was fouled working his way toward the basket. That'll go against London Williams, his first personal foul. Evans going to the line for 2 free throws.
And these have been a struggle for him, much like they have been for Omaha Bryan all year. Evans shooting 53% from the charity stripe. Misses another one. Heading into tonight, he was 17th in Class A in attempts, 39th in makes. That's
in 3 of his last 10.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough percentage.
Evans trying for a 1-for-2 trip, and he'll get it. Evans with 3 points now on the night, and Prep leads by 3.
I will say that if this game comes down to free throws, which it's looking like it might given how slow it's been going, both of these teams should be very frightened if it ends up coming to that, because that would not be good for either of them.
Matt Tutt working out of the corner. Kawani over to Bynum. Amari Bynum double teamed. He can't score, and look who's right there to put it back home. That's Kawani. There was a whistle called.
I think it was a foul.
It's going to be a foul.
That's
Jungers.
Jungers.
So Kawani is going to go to the line on an and one with a chance to tie the game.
And that's on Jungers, too. That's his second. So he's coming out. Josh Townley coming in. All of a sudden, with the game still kind of in a quagmire, only 25 combined points well into the second quarter, things just got really tough for Prep offensively.
Kawani with 6 points. He can't tie it on the free throw, so Townley now will be tasked with defending one of the best scorers in the state. Evans over to Riechel. Back for Evans. 6 minutes to go until halftime. Prep by 1. O'Malley's got an open 3. O'Malley knocks it down. Junior Jays with their first from distance, and they lead by 4.
This has the makings of a classic Casey O'Malley game, Tyler. When he gets in those moods where he starts driving and shooting whenever he wants, this team's ceiling raises significantly, and that's what he's doing right now.
O'Malley had 14 points in the regular season game against Bryan. Has half that total already tonight with 7.
And we still got plenty left to go in the first half, 5:45 to go. But despite O'Malley's output, it's still a very low-scoring game.
Driving in is Bynum. He kicks it back out to Tutt, who has to control his dribble.
Bryan's got to be real careful with these. They're averaging over 14 turnovers a game, and they have made some risky decisions with the ball.
Tutt, shot fake, got around O'Malley, runs into Townley, who defends him well, but the rebound comes to Bryan. Quick release three, Kwani air ball, and Townley's got the rebound as he draws a foul. Sixth team infraction by Bryan.
I would love to know why Lam Kwani is continuing to shoot threes. I don't feel like that's what Bryan wants him to do. Like,
Element of surprise?
Well, but he's not like a great three-point shooter. Like, looking at his percentages on the year, he's shooting 24%. I mean, he's taken over 100 of them now, and I'm not sure why. It's not his game.
Riesel going to take a three. He's taken over 100, and he drills that one from long range. Creighton Prep starting to get things rolling now.
There you go.
Timeout Bryan with the Junior Jays ahead by 7.
That's what you needed. You needed a little mini run there, and they got it. That's a quick 6-0 run, and in a game this low scoring, 6 points can be a lot.
So 4:56 to go in the first half. Creighton Prep ahead 19-12 over the Omaha Bryan Bears. Say that 10 times fast.
No.
As both teams will head to the huddle. Junior Jays starting to get things rolling a little bit from the perimeter. Do you think they need to stick to that to try and continue pulling away?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, get the ball into the hands of O'Malley. Honestly, I think you might be able to let Jungers rest for a while longer, especially given the 2 fouls. And considering how O'Malley's been orchestrating the offense, I don't think there'd be any problems with leaving Jungers out. And then if you're Josh Townley, who is still in the game, then I'd say just let Kwani shoot. It's kind of like a reverse Ben Simmons situation where instead of a player refusing to do anything because of one weakness, it's a player continuing to try that one weakness even when it's hurting his team. Like, if you're Kwani, just get in the block and stay there. They keep running like this 5-out set, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if he's setting screens maybe, but he's handling the ball on the perimeter, and that's not his thing.
Mott Tutt with a screen from Kwani. Dashes in, uses glass, can't score. Kwani's got the rebound, and he was fouled by Prep. Or make that a foul against Kwani.
What?
Wow, he's in disbelief. So are his teammates.
So are the commentators. What?
So foul against Kwani. That's his second, and that's going to put Prep at the line for a 1-and-1 as that's team foul number 7 on Bryan.
Yeah, that is a curious call. I mean,
looked like he was leaning back instead of going.
Yeah, no,
over
he had the ball in his hands. I'm not sure where the foul on Kwani is.
Townley perfect on the free throw.
Yeah, Prep will get at least a point out of it now, which is interesting. I mean, he's been playing pretty well all year. About 2 points a game, 2 rebounds. Already matched that output tonight.
And he looked great from the free throw line there. Only 8 attempts coming in, but looked like he had taken 200 on that trip. Williams with the basketball for Bryan.
I mean, he was 3 of 8 headed in, now raised his percentage 12 full points to 50.
London Williams guarded by Sudbeck. Junior Jays lead by 9. There's a 3-point look, and it is strong from Brown and rebounded by O'Malley.
This has been an ugly shooting game for the Bears, but they're just continuing to take them. And at some point, you just got to say, you know what? We've got Lam Kwani. He's 4th in Class A in points. Prep's best defensive center is out of the game right now with 2 fouls. Just give the ball to Kwani on the block and let him work.
Riesel, drive and kick. Townley out of the corner. Back to Evans. Evans on a screen from Townley. Goes in and gets blocked again by Tutt.
Love the second effort to get the rebound.
Riesel. He gets a screen from Townley and finds him on a bounce pass, but he can't finish it. Boy, Riesel set the table perfectly, but Townley unable to put it home.
Yeah, it's been a very rough stretch of offensive basketball for, oh no.
Kwani for 3, no again, but
what a move!
Rebound. He spins and scores for Bryan. It's a 7-point game. As we got a whistle, as O'Malley talks things over with Coach Lukey on the sideline, and Prep will inbound from the baseline.
Lam Kwani now 0 of 3 on 3-pointers in a game where Bryan's only about 4 or 5 possessions back. Just keep that in mind because that could become important if this game remains close.
Matt Tutt with 5 points now for Bryan.
And a lot of good offensive rebounds, too. He's been great on the second effort. Riesel, oh, man.
Trying to Bank that one in. It was strong off the back iron.
And they're going to call a foul on Townley.
Yep. So that's number 6 against Prep as a team.
No, number 5.
Number 5?
Yep.
Okay. 3:01 to go in the first half. That is number 5 against Prep.
So we're going to get some free throws, which is we've kind of alluded to earlier in the broadcast, will not be a pretty sight for either of these teams. I don't know. Do you think this game has a chance to get more, I don't know, offense?
Kwani trying to provide some, and he's going to go to the free throw line as he is fouled.
That's Townley again. That's his second.
2:48 to go in the first half. Kwani to the line for 2 free throws. In the early going, he has 6 points. And he is strong on a low arcing first free throw.
Gotta put some arc on those. And that's now 2 on Townley and Jungers. So I wonder, Tyler, if you're Coach Ludke, are you looking down the bench at Owen Shotkoski?
Who knows? Remains to be seen. This game has been weird enough already as it is. As Kwani goes 1 for 2
Shotkoski played offensive line on the football team, was a starter until he broke his hand late in the year. He could certainly provide some muscle in the post.
Here's O'Malley. Rischel on the ground on the far
Yeah, that's
side.
a carry.
And a carry against the Junior Jays. Good call, Brendan.
It's been sloppy all night, Tyler.
So Prep ahead by 6, but Bryan taking over with 2:34 to go in the half.
This game feels a little bit like I do right now. A little bit tired, a little bit sore, a little bit ready to go home and call it a night, which probably shouldn't be that given that it's only halftime. I mean, you got any caffeine I could borrow?
Oh, I'll hook you up at halftime.
Hey.
Here's Kwani working his way in, and
Ooh.
he can't use the window to score. O'Malley with the rebound. Here comes Rischel.
Kwani's continuing to get into the paint at will, though.
Evans.
As is Evans.
Gets to the paint at will. Basket and a foul for Martell Evans. And Prep has the lead at 23-15. Team foul number 8 against Bryan. That will go against Matt Tutt, his first personal. Huebner will come into the game for O'Malley as Evans goes to the free throw line.
He's been playing fairly well so far tonight. If he makes this, he'll have 6. And he does not.
He does not. So 1 for 3 from the line so far for Evans. And now Omaha Bryan down by 8. 2 minutes left until halftime.
They got to get Kwani into the post. Just attack the centers for Prep at this point, because it's not like last year where they had both Rollins and Jungers with Tubrick ready to come off the bench. They've got Jungers and then Townley and maybe Shotkoski, but if you're Bryan, you just got to attack the Prep centers.
There's a 3.
Oh!
Matt Tutt, he heard you from down there on the court. Talk a little bad about the three-point shooting. Tutt knocks one down.
That shot looked perfect. Probably could have made it from up here. And it's a 5-point game, Tyler. We might want to be careful. You said upset alert at the end of the first quarter. It's certainly not. The alert has not been taken off yet. I'll say that.
Tutt with 8 points for Bryan. Here's Huebner.
I think you could argue he's been their best offensive player tonight.
Oh, he has.
All things considered, especially the rebounding.
Evans, there's a beautiful jumper. Nothing but net from Martell Evans.
That was pretty.
And he has 7 points.
7 points is also the margin right now with 1:05 to go. But both teams starting to settle in now. There's been a lot more scoring in these past couple of minutes than in the past. Oh, what a move.
Kwani completely lost Townley. And he lays it in with the right hand. 5-point game again.
What a play from Lam Kwani. And I can imagine what most of the halftime talk is going to be about.
Kwani with 9 points as the ball is knocked out of bounds by Bryan. 41.4 to go. Rischel will inbound for the Junior Jays.
I mean, honestly, Prep's a little lucky that it's not worse for them, considering how much Kwani's loved the perimeter in this early going to this game. And he's had a couple of turnovers that he very nearly held on to. This could be a very different ball game right now, and it's really thanks to the man with the ball right now that Prep's been able to keep Bryan at arm's length.
Evans holding the ball with 18 seconds left. Supporters of the shot clock are losing their minds as Evans continues to wait. Sudbeck back for Townley. 8 seconds. Prep moving around now. Rischel goes into Townley. Kick out. Huebner,
good
shot
pump fake.
And he can't score. That'll be an offensive foul.
That's rough.
Huebner with the charge, drawn by Kuth, who's fired up there. 2.3
That's
to go.
number 7 on Prep, so now Bryan will be shooting free throws for the remaining 2.3 seconds of the first half. That's a big problem, Tyler.
Yep, They've got a lot of time to do it, don't they? Tunt inbounds. Kuwani gets it off, and it is off the top of the glass. We reach halftime. It's Crane Prep 25, Omaha Bryan 20. We'll be back for the second half next on CPSN. Welcome back to the Hyder Center here at Creighton Prep, where we are on massive upset watch here in the district semifinal on CPSN. The Omaha Bryan Bears, 4th seed in the district, trailing the top-seeded Junior Jays by 5 points. It's 25-20 in favor of Prep. Tyler Reedy and Brendan Prizeman here to bring you the second half on CPSN. And Brendan, want to give us a quick recap of that first half? It's been sloppy, it's been defensive, and it has been close, surprisingly.
Well, I think it goes back to kind of what we discussed in the pregame. We were talking about how these teams are going to win, and for Bryan, it was kind of bog the game down, make sure Lomquani gets his points, his rebounds, and does what he needs to do, and then make sure that Prep's perimeter guys aren't getting open looks. And for the most part, they've checked off all 3 of those boxes. Lomquani's played great, 9 points, a couple of blocks, goodness knows how many rebounds. And Mott Tutt has also been incredible, 8 points for the Bears. And then Prep has really struggled from deep. I mean, they started to pick it up late in the first half, but they started the game 0 of 3 from deep, and they've only hit 2 threes since then. So Bryan's really been able to bog them down quite successfully. What Prep's going to want to do in the second half is try and run on them if they want to make this margin a little wider than 5 points.
Leading scores in the first half for Prep, Evans and O'Malley each with 7, Jungers with 4, and for Bryan, Quaney with 9, Tutt with 8. Here's Jungers trying to score.
Oh, man.
And he was blocked.
Twice.
Blocked again. That's Amari Bynum. And now Newville loses it out of bounds. What a defensive stand for Bryan.
You mean what a defensive stand for Bynum?
Bynum. It sounds pretty similar, I suppose.
I mean, 12th in Class A in blocks, just made a couple of huge plays there. I mean, P.J. Newville got the offensive rebound, and he was basically scared to shoot.
We'll keep you posted on the other semifinal in this A6 district. Lincoln Northeast has an 8-5 lead over Grand Island after the first quarter of play, so really low-scoring start there. Driving in, unable to score, but getting it to Quaney.
Oh, you got to hit that layup.
That was T.J. Brown on the drive. Prep takes over, still ahead by 5.
One of those guys has to hit that layup. You're not going to get that many chances on the block against Prep, and when you do, you got to take advantage of them.
O'Malley over to Jungers, has some space, takes the 3. Jungers
there you go.
Knocks it down. And Creighton Prep has built back up to an 8-point lead.
That's what you want, is you want Jungers shooting from deep, even if he's not necessarily making them. He's making sure that Lomquani's not just sitting in the lane. Oh, good defense from Rachel.
That was Williams moving it to Tutt. Matt Tutt peels back again, gets a screen from Quaney. Tutt tries to kick out and eventually does get it over to Brown. Now Quaney, top of the key 3-pointer. That one too strong. Rebound eventually comes to Newville, who corrals it for Prep.
Quaney's got to stop shooting threes. I mean, seriously, that's not a good offensive possession for Bryan, and it hasn't been any time he shot it. If he makes it, I'll give him credit, but, like, none of them have looked great coming out of his hand, so.
Evans, 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. Junior Jays with a chance to take their first double-digit lead of the game. O'Malley will try to do it, but he misses the triple. And Bryan has the rebound.
That's his first miss of the game, though, so definitely keep shooting if you're Casey O'Malley.
T.J. Brown.
Good pass.
Out to London Williams. Now Tutt. Inside to Bynum.
Why is Amari Bynum not posting up more? He's much taller than Newville. And yeah, there you go.
Bynum with 2 more points. Bryan is back within 6.
His first of the night, and I mean, yeah, he's 6'4", going up against P.J. Newville, who's about 6 even. That's a matchup that I'd say Bryan would want every time.
Newville, long too,
Ooh.
and he's perfect from out there. P.J. Newville, Prep back ahead by 8.
Definitely a lot more shot making as we enter this third quarter. Prep still holding on to that lead, though. Ooh.
Kawani with a tough drive. He's fouled underneath the hoop, and he's going to go to the line for 2 free throws.
And that's Jungers' third.
Yep.
That is deeply troubling for the Junior Jays, because even if you are fouling a guy like Quaney, who is shooting 65% from the line this year, another foul on Jungers is not ideal for the Junior Jays.
Quaney misses the first free throw. He's had some troubles from the free throw line tonight, much like Martell Evans on the other side, as Emmett Knight comes in for Newville, and only will for Jungers.
It's now the 5th miss for Bryan from the free throw line. They've struggled all year from the line, 54%, but leaving 5 points out there in a game where the spread is only 8 right now is not good.
Second free throw for Lam Kwani. Got that one. He has 10 points on the night to lead all scorers.
And now he's taking a seat. It did look like he hit the ground pretty hard on that reverse layup. But now with both Jungers and Kwani out, it's really a question of who on these teams is going to step up. It's got to be, you'd figure, O'Malley and Bynum because they've been playing the best so far. But you never know. This is still anybody's game with 5 minutes to go in the third.
Wolkuth in the game for the Bears. Rieschel looking for space.
Bryan's playing really physical defense on the perimeter.
Townley waiting for an option. Gets it to Rieschel. Great shot fake on his man in the air, and a step back is missed by Rieschel. Rebound to London Williams.
I like the confidence of Rieschel to take that shot, though. That's a difficult shot to get off properly, but he was able to do it and almost worked.
Driving in, drawing the foul, Matt Tutt able to get Casey O'Malley.
No,
yeah, it is on O'Malley.
Oh, I saw Rieschel on the ground and figured it was on him.
And that's going to send Tutt to the line. Already the second team foul against Prep. Bryan, no team fouls in the first 3.5 minutes of the second half as Tutt will shoot 2.
Who would you rather play if you're Prep, Lincoln Northeast or Grand Island? Or either of these teams, really?
It's hard to tell. Depends on what the guys around Isaac Trout can do for Grand Island, because if you play Grand Island, you know Trout's going to score.
Yeah.
If you can let him do his thing and take away the rest, you'll probably be fine, as Tutt is able to cash in. He has 9 points on the night. It's a 6-point game.
I honestly agree with you. I think I'd rather play Grand Island than Lincoln Northeast. Like, both those games were close, but
And a travel against Josh Townley on the inside, so Prep still ahead by 6, but they keep giving Bryan chances to stay in this game. Every time we think they're going to pull away, Prep makes a mistake, and the Bears jump right back in.
Turnovers have been troublesome for Prep all year. They're averaging over double-digit turnovers a game at 10.1, and they don't force a lot either. So if you lose that turnover margin by a pretty significant amount, then yeah, Bryan could easily steal a game from you. They're a good defensive team.
Step back, perfect from T.J. Brown, and it's a 4-point game. Brown with 5 points.
You got to get the ball into the hands of your stars here if you're the Junior Jays.
Evans, tough take.
Good call.
He was fouled as he went up for the right-hand layup. That's the first team foul against Bryan, and the whistle goes against Bynum.
It's his third.
But if you're the Bears, this is the guy you want to send to the free throw line. Evans, like we said earlier, just a 53% free throw shooter this year. But he makes the first. Hebner, Sudbeck, and Kwani into the game.
We should get one of those foul trouble graphics that the college basketball broadcasts always do late in the fourth quarter, because Jungers is sitting at 3. Townley's at 2. Kwani's at 2 and Bynum's at 3. So certainly both teams might have to start digging into the benches at some point pretty soon.
Evans with a 2-for-2 trip. Welcome sign for him as he now has 9 points today. London Williams goes into Kwani. 2 defenders in the area, and Kwani's fadeaway is nowhere near the rim. Evans to Hebner. He kicks back to Rieschel. Evans, quick ball movement over to Sudbeck. Townley. 3:20 to go in the third. Evans, Sudbeck, there's a 3. Joe Sudbeck off the back of the rim. Nearly got it to drop. Rebound to Bryan.
You got to get a good possession out here if you're Bryan. The score's been sitting at 6 for a little bit now. You want to get the ball into the hands of your guys who can score.
Step back 3. Tutt can score, but he misses that. Triple. And Rieschel's fouled on the rebound.
That's a bit of a ticky-tack call, I think, on Wolkuth. I understand the call, but not sure I like it. And then another miss from Mott Tutt. He was scoring pretty well in the first half, but dipped a little bit as we enter this third quarter. Only 1 point on a free throw, and he's missed a couple of field goals already. So scoring for Bryan starting to dry up just a little bit at a time in the game when really they can least afford it, because Prep's offense is finally starting to get going.
Jungers back in the game with those 3 fouls. Rather, he sat back down. He was at the scorer's table, but Jungers back on the bench.
I think he's the type. He's got like a glass case, like break in case of emergency on him. Like if Bryan starts to get this game within 2 or 3, I think he's going to come back in. But if they don't, there's really no need for Jungers to be in the ballgame right now.
Huebner missed a 3 for Prep. Now Kawani spins. Kawani, look at that scoop.
Wow.
That would have been something had it gone, but it didn't. Rischel with the board for Prep.
Kawani has not hit a shot from the field yet this third quarter. He's 0 of 4.
Evans.
Tut is 0 of 1. They've combined for 1 or 2 total points in this quarter, and that's why Prep's still been able to keep the margin where it is.
Huebner over to Rischel. Guarded tightly by Brown. Rischel driving, got his man in the air, and Kawani is all over him from above and behind.
Eesh.
That one out of bounds on the block. Prep will keep it with 2:05 to go in the third.
Yeah, if Bryan loses this game, it's not going to be because of their defense. Their defense has been stellar all night, and the only guy who's really been able to get anything going is Jungers and O'Malley by driving, which, risky pass there.
Huebner, kick out, Sudbeck, corner 3. He's been great from there this year, but he misses that time, and skying for the rebound and drawing the foul is Wolkuth.
That's on Sudbeck, too. You mentioned how good he's been from that area. You think it might be a little bit of frustration?
Might have been. Sudbeck 0 for 2 on his first 2 3-point shots of the night, keeping Bryan in close range at a 6-point game here with 1:50 to go in the third.
Still a 6-point game. How's the Northeast Grand Island game going?
No update yet. I'm keeping track of Jacob Padilla, the Hale varsity rider who's covered it tonight. Hasn't given an update since the end of the first quarter when it was 8-5 Lincoln Northeast.
We'll probably have the halftime update before this game's over, so.
Here's a 3 from the corner. TJ Brown misses. And an
good
offensive
board by
rebound
Matt
for
Tut. He has
been
been
a force.
Yeah, he's been incredible on the offensive glass. He's got at least 5 by my count.
His layup try did not go. Rebound comes out to Rischel. He stops with a 3. Rischel is short.
Oh!
Evans! Oh, man, Martell Evans, the follow-up throwdown.
That could be big for the rest of this game.
Travel against
Oh,
Kawani.
boy.
1 minute to go in the third, and Creighton Prep feeling that momentum now. Evans with a huge play for Prep.
And there was somebody dead on the ground in the first row of the birdcage. They had to resuscitate him. Oh, what a dunk. That's one of the most exciting plays I've seen all year from this Junior Jays team. And that could really knot things up nicely for Prep if they're able to get a bucket here and go into the fourth quarter up 10.
O'Malley. Prep moving a little bit quicker as Junger's back in the game here. Rischel, that's
No
a
way.
deep 3. Rischel, well short. Too good to be true that time for Joey Rischel. Bryan will take possession with 44.4 to go.
He's 1 of 4 tonight. And, I mean, I understand wanting a little bit of momentum, but that is far too deep a shot to take in a regular game. And Jackson Dasher just went to the scorer's table for a bit. Ludke probably not entirely happy with that decision-making.
Brown doesn't get the bounce. Rim tightens up on him in front of the birdcage. Evans has it with 25 seconds
Bryan
left.
has been really struggling from the field. Kwani's 0 of 4. Brown is 1 of 4. Tut's 0 of 2. They really got to get something going from the field because they are not going to claw back into this game shooting 54% from the line. I'll tell you that.
Josh Lukey takes a timeout. 19.9 to go in the third quarter. So, Brendan, after that Evans slam, how would you estimate where the momentum is right now? And if you would say it is on Prep side, what does Bryan need to do to get it back here?
Well, I would say that it's really been on Prep's side most of the game. I mean, they were up 5 at half. They're up 8 right now. But I'd say for the most part, all of the scoring has been pretty back and forth. Like, Prep scored 9 in this quarter. Bryan scored 6. And that fits in pretty well with the rest of the quarters. It was 10-10 after 1, 25-20 after 2. Bryan is still sticking with them. But I'd say that Evans play gives Prep the momentum, if only because it's such an exciting play. But then the key is you got to keep the momentum and not do anything stupid like, say, huck up a 30-footer. Issue is, their very next possession, Prep hucked up a 30-footer, and that took away a lot of that momentum. It's still on their side, but right now, you remember derivatives, right? I'd say it's got a derivative of 0. The momentum is just on Prep's side, but they're not getting more of it. If they want to get more of it, they got to get a bucket here. If you're Bryan, you got to get a stop, and you probably need to score at the buzzer.
Evans with 8 seconds. Over to Rischel. Back to Evans.
They're going to let Evans
Gotta
take it.
push
Oh.
here. O'Malley's going to take a three. O'Malley airballed again. Some
Yeesh.
uncharacteristic misses for Prep to end the third quarter. O'Malley talking to the ref, claiming he was contacted, but we end the third quarter. The score is Prep 34, Bryan 26. And one thing I should mention before we go to the fourth, Bryan's best games this regular season have come in these kinds of defensive slugfests. We talked about,
almost beat Millard North.
talked about the 52-50 loss to Millard North, and then number 5 Gretna. Bryan took them on December 9th early in the year. They lost, but it was close, 47-45 to score that one. So Bryan wants to keep it close, wants to keep it defensive, low scoring, but they've got to get some big buckets here down the stretch.
Yeah, and I mean, there have been very few buckets. Prep 0 of 6 from beyond the arc in that third quarter. 2 misses apiece from Sudbeck, Rischel, and O'Malley. Jungers missed twice. Evans had 4, 2 from the free throw line. And I said earlier in the third quarter that, the buckets were starting to come a little easier. That was a huge mistake. Lowest scoring quarter of the game. 6 for Bryan, 9 for Prep, 15 combined points as we head to the fourth. And, I mean, really it's like there's been a lid on the rim for most of this third quarter. I mentioned earlier how Bryan's 3 scores were doing. T.J. Brown, 1 of 4. Mott Tutt, 0 of 2, 1 point. And then Lam Kwani, 0 of 4, 1 point. So it's been really rough sledding. But then again, you're right. These are the kinds of games that Bryan wins, the kind of games where you kind of have to get down in the metaphorical mud and work just a little bit harder than the other guy. They've been working harder than Prep basically all night. And then if those shots start falling, especially if Kwani's able to hit 1 or 2 of those threes that he's been taking all night, then Bryan could easily steal this game.
Evans with 11, Jungers and O'Malley each with 7 for the Junior Jays. Tutt has 9 for Bryan. T.J. Brown has 5, and Kwani
has another rebound.
He adds 2 more, and you can make it 12 points for Lam Kwani as he starts the fourth quarter scoring to make it 34-28.
I honestly think that should be Bryan's entire offense for this fourth quarter. Dump the ball into number 35 and hope he gets the bucket, because for the most part, Prep has been unable to stop him.
O'Malley throws it out of bounds. Coach Lukey not in the power squad yet. He's reclining.
He's
in his
furious,
chair there.
though.
Now he gets up.
Oh, he is.
Frustrated.
Yeah.
7:15 to go in the fourth.
The physicality on the perimeter of Bryan has really been impressive, because a lot of times Prep will make teams pay for that by driving, but they haven't really been able to do that because the post defense of Bryan is also really impressive. So they're left with making passes like that end up in turnovers. Speaking of turnovers.
With a steal. Here he comes. O'Malley lays it in. And it's 36-28 Creighton Prep.
O'Malley's got 9, and that could be another fairly big momentum play. But Prep's got to get another stop here. It's going to be difficult to do. Oh.
Kwani, another travel against the 4th leading scorer in the state. Kwani having some issues in that category with Prep double teaming him. 6:42 to go in the fourth. Junior J.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers on both sides. I wouldn't call this a beautiful game. Certainly not as fun as the Millard North game was, but still pretty close. This is where you got to knuckle down.
Jungers working on Kwani. He goes right over him with the right hand, and Prep leads by 10. Jungers now with 9 points. Here comes Kwani. Williams, they need this 3. They don't get it, and it's a rebound for Joey Rischel.
We compared the Jungers-Kwani matchup to a heavyweight fight a little earlier, and right now Prep's starting to land a little bit of those right crosses and those left hooks. I think a haymaker's going to come pretty soon. But they got to get a bucket. They got to keep getting those buckets.
Jungers
draws
another foul against Kwani.
That's number 3 for Lam Kwani. At this point, it doesn't matter, because really for Bryan, there's 6 minutes left in the season. If he's coming out of this game now, that you're basically punting on the season as it is. So he's staying in, but still that foul trouble could be interesting, especially. That's his 4th.
Yeah, Jungers made a quick move on Kwani, but
he cleared him out.
Foul.
He cleared him out. I think that's what they called. Is he pushed off with his left elbow a little bit, and now Josh Townley's back in.
Lukey is pacing up and down the Prep bench in fury.
Please, I am begging Bryan, if you can hear me, please dump the ball down to number 35 on the block. Pretty please, just run that offense.
Kwani matched up with Townley. Sudbeck fouls on Williams, or rather we
Nope,
get a timeout
timeout
on Bryan. Yep. Right as Williams was going past Sudbeck, so timeout Bryan. 5:47 to go in the fourth quarter, and if you want to expound on that at all, Junger's out of the game. Townley in to guard Kwani, who has gone pretty cold scoring-wise in the second half. Do you keep the onus on him, or do you try to look a little more towards Mott Tutt to get his scoring back?
Well, Mott Tutt's been struggling as well, and the issue is Prep's perimeter defense has really figured him out and started to guard him much better than they were in the first half. So I would say, if you're Bryan, it's still Lam Kwani ball until either he fouls out or people start getting open. Because, honestly, with Jungers out, he's the best player on the court. I think you could make an argument that even with Jungers in, he's the best player on the court. And for Prep, with Jungers out, and probably understandably frustrated given that he has 4 fouls now.
5:47 to go in the fourth quarter. We've got another update coming from Lincoln, where the Rockets of Lincoln Northeast lead Grand Island 20-13 at halftime. So these two games
Yuck.
mirror images of each other. A defensive slugfest in Lincoln as well. Andy Poss and Porter Basil each have 6 points for the Rockets to lead the way for them. Again, winner of this game plays winner of that game on Wednesday night. Prep will have Evans, Townley, O'Malley, Riechel, Sudbeck on the floor.
I like that lineup. I like it a lot. I really think that they should go with kind of a more shooter-heavy lineup as we get down into crunch time, because remember, there's a chance both these seasons end with a loss. I mean, obviously Prep could get into the state tournament on wild card points, but you're asking a lot there for a team that went out first round in districts.
Bynum, tough take, doesn't go.
Board.
Kwani with the rebound and the putback. Lam Kwani with 2 more to make it an 8-point game, and Kwani has 14.
I remember reading something about Moses Malone, the old NBA player for the Rockets and 76ers, where it was like his teammates in high school and college would run a play where they just throw it off the backboard because he would get it because he was such a good offensive rebounder. And, like, I feel like that's what Bryan should do, honestly, because no one on Prep has shown either the willingness or the ability to really stop Lam Kwani on the offensive board. So I'd say if you're Prep or if you're Bryan, just keep finding ways to get the ball. If that's off the backboard, and then it's off the backboard, but get the ball to number 35.
4:50 to go in the district semifinal. Evans has it at the top. Bryan with sound defensive positioning here. Evans still holding.
And here's where that shot clock you were talking about, Class A not having, comes in, because Prep is going to take a long time to get a shot off on this possession.
Riechel into Townley. He's open.
That's
Bynum
a travel.
comes over, and
That's
a
a travel.
block, and it's going to be Bryan basketball with 4:26 to go, as Townley was completely shut down on the inside.
And on the outside, too. He took one dribble at the three-point arc and had to pick it up. The Bryan defense, again, I said this earlier, if they lose this game, it is not at all because of their defense. Their defense has performed about as well as you could ask of them tonight.
TJ Brown dribbling loosely with that left hand. He eludes Riechel and goes high off the window.
What a shot.
TJ Brown makes it a 6-point game, and he has 7.
Luke Jungers is at the scorer's table
with those 4 fouls. Evans has the basketball. 4 minutes left. Evans speeding to the another block by Tutt.
No, they did not call. They did not call that.
Oh man, Tutt got him from behind, and they say he got the hand or the wrist.
You cannot be serious. That's a horrible call.
So Evans to the line for 2 free throws with 3:56 to go. Second foul against Tutt. And Evans has gotten better from the line as the night has gone along. He makes that one. He has 12 points. And Jungers with the 4 fouls is in the game for Townley.
That's not a good call, Tyler. It's not a good call.
Evans, 2 for 2 from the line.
He's hit his last 4.
So a good sign for Prep. They need him to figure out his free throw shooting in a hurry, headed towards state.
Or headed toward last 2 minutes of this game, because
O'Malley with a steal, trying to dunk it, but he missed. And a whistle, and Bryan's going to have a goaltend.
You are kidding me.
Wow.
This is stupid. This
Goaltending.
is completely stupid.
Goaltending against Bryan. O'Malley's basket will count. It's a 10-point game for Prep.
That's bad. That is two horrendous calls back to back in a very tight game. These officials should leave the arena as soon as possible because these Bryan fans are going to be furious with them, and I do not blame them one bit.
O'Malley now with 11 points. Looking to score was Bynum on the other end. He missed. O'Malley emerges from the pack.
And then you follow it with a ticky-tack call like that. You've got to be joking.
And some of the Bryan fans
This is awful.
are disgusted.
This is awful.
3:24 to go in the fourth quarter. 42-32 Prep. They'll have the basketball. 5 team fouls now on Bryan. Emmett Knight going wide. Jungers, there's a three. Jungers misses by a pretty wide margin, and it's rebounded by London Williams. TJ Brown, Bynum, they need this. Oh,
how in the
time's
world?
up on Bynum, and it's no good.
They've had about 5 or 6 shots rattle out of that rim. They are right here in this game. But they've come up just short on a little too many possessions, and I think after that shot, this game might be in the books.
2:45 to go in the fourth quarter. Timeout Prep.
He was in the power squat when he called it.
Yep, stressful times here in the Hyder Center. Junior Jay's just trying to hold on for dear life in this ugly defensive game. One for the old timers here at the Hyder Center. Prep 42, Bryan 32.
Speaking of old timers, Kyle Ludke, the UNO student and basketball player in the gym tonight, he was on Prep's last championship team in 2018, and this game, the start of the road to Lincoln, but right now, there's been a lot of potholes on that road for the Junior Jays.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if the car might be a little too dinged up to get all the way down I-80. Because, I don't know, I mean, they can beat this Bryan team, obviously. We saw them do it earlier this year. And they've got the head-to-head wins over Grand Island and Lincoln Northeast. And they shot really well in both those games. But if they shoot like this against the Rockets or the Islanders, they're going home. They played sloppily all night on offense and defense to a lesser extent. And really, you could, even though it's a 10-point margin, you could call them lucky to escape this game with a win, if they're even able to do that.
O'Malley to inbound out of the timeout, gets it to Evans at midcourt. See how long Prep holds this. Evans on a bounce to Jungers. Back to Evans.
They're going to hold it as long as they can.
And Bryan with a foul. That'll be called against Tutt.
That's
his third. That's
fourth,
okay.
Yeah, that's the guy you're going to want to foul, though, if you're Omaha Bryan, as Tutt takes a seat for Wool Queeth. I mean, you probably want Evans on the line. Right now, of the 5 guys on the floor, he's, other than Emmett Knight, he's the worst free throw shooter, and Knight has only taken 8 shots from the charity stripe.
Evans guarded tightly by Kuth. And there's another foul. That's going to be number 7 against Bryan. They
third on Kuth.
And Evans will go to the line for a 1-and-1. 2:24 to go in regulation. Tutt right back into the game as Kuth will check out.
Evans has hit his last 4.
Getting plenty of practice here down the stretch.
No rebounders in for Prep, so if he misses this, Bryan has a chance to run. But he does not.
Martell Evans quietly having an excellent night for the Junior Jays.
From the free throw line, that's where most of his points have come from. He hasn't necessarily been shooting the lights out of the ball, but when he's gone to the charity stripe, he's hit his last 6 in a row now.
He has 15 points. Tutt along the baseline. That
See,
one would
if
not
you're
go.
going to call a goaltend on the Casey O'Malley play, you might as well call it on that. It's the same scenario.
And the Bryan coaches are losing their minds on the sideline.
I would be too.
Jungers, through all of that, was fouled. He's going for a 1-and-1. And Bryan's head coach, Galen Goalie, is pleading his case desperately to the official.
And that's the 5th on Mott Tutt, too. I mean, seriously, the officiating down the stretch has been a tiny bit subpar.
1-and-1 for Jungers. Prep just trying to put this thing away. As Jungers knocks down the first free throw, he now has 10 points tonight.
Fans are absolutely furious in front of us. You can hear them yelling at the refs if you really want to, but we probably can't broadcast a little of what they're saying. And free throws again.
2 for 2 from the line.
Prep has hit a total of 6 field goals.
Foul called against Bryan, or rather on Prep. That's on Rieschel. Bryan, the team foul. That's team foul number 5 against Prep. 2:12 to go in the fourth.
Prep has hit 6 shots from the field in the second half. All the rest of it has been free throws.
Kwani trying to hit a shot from the field. He missed 2 of them. His third try doesn't go. His fourth try doesn't go. His fifth try doesn't go. And finally the 6th goes in.
That was Amari Bynum, too. That wasn't even Kwani.
Goodness gracious.
Going to be fun to mark down those misses on my score sheet.
Jungers is bear hugged by Kuth.
And coaches are furious. I don't think they wanted Kuth to foul there. At the very least, they didn't want him to foul. They didn't want him to foul Jungers, and that is now the 4th on Kuth as well. So with Jungers going to the line with 1:49 to go, the bench for the Bears is very thin right now.
Jungers to the line for another 1-and-1. Front end is missed. He goes for his own rebound but can't get to it.
Still a chance for Bryan. They got to hurry, though.
Quick three is missed. Rebound comes to Jungers. That was Malik Schmidt just in the game trying for the 3, and now a steal. Bryan has it back. Williams at the Bynum for 3. He can't hit. Evans goes above everybody for the board and is fouled on the floor. That will be team foul number 10 against Bryan. Evans going for 2 free throws with Prep in the double bonus.
Who was the foul on, they said?
I did not see. Evans will have 2 free throws with 1:30 to go in the fourth quarter. And Evans makes the first free throw. Boy, he has been way better down the stretch. Was that 7 consecutive made free throws now?
8 of 9 on the game. Make it 9 of 10.
And make it 17 points for Martell Evans. As a timeout is taken by Bryan with 1:27 to go in the fourth quarter, and it is going to take a lot for them to overcome this deficit, especially with the way they've been shooting from outside.
Yeah.
They trail by 14 with 87 seconds left in the district semifinal.
And free throws. We were talking with the whole team earlier, and, you know, somebody felt the need to say that Prep doesn't shoot free throws that well. You had to correct them. You said, no, they're 5th in Class A. They are. 71% from the field, heavily led by Luke Jungers, shooting 82%. Casey O'Malley, who hasn't missed. Joey Rieschel, who's shooting 95%. And in the end, games like this, especially at State, are probably going to come down to which team can make some free throws. Prep knows that better than any team. Justin City had a chance to win the Bellevue West game in the state semifinal last year. Couldn't hit either of the free throws. And Prep ended up losing that game in triple overtime, I believe it was. Yep. But now when the chips are down, Martell Evans hits 8 consecutive free throws in the second half. Jungers hits 2 of his own. And that's really where most of the scoring output for the from the fourth quarter has been for the Junior Jays. And that's going to be enough to push them over the finish line. Or it should be. You never know, but it should be enough.
48-34.
I've jinxed things on this channel before, so you never know.
London Williams driving for Bryan, kick out. Schmidt, step back 3, really a prayer, and it's missed. Foul called against Bryan with Jungers grabbing the rebound, and the Junior Jays heading right back for 2 more free throws. Looks like it'll be Evans, the hot hand, going back to the line again. 1:12 to go in the fourth quarter.
He's taken 1 field goal in the second half, and he's currently sitting at 10 second half points.
Goodness.
Looking like James Harden out there all of a sudden.
Makes another free throw.
Seriously, Prep has scored now 7 straight points off of free throws.
And
there it
don't
is.
Make it 8. Evans
There it is.
finally has the streak come to an end. It's 49-34. There's a 3 on the other
Oh,
end from
goodness.
Brown. That one's short.
Goodness gracious.
Evans draws another foul, and he's going to the line again. Goodness, start building a house there, Martell Evans. He has been at the free throw line again and again, just about every possession.
You could say he was building a house there for how he's played the rest of the season from the line.
Boy. Oh, man.
But not tonight. He's been
Prizeman
excellent.
from the 22nd row. As Evans comes up short on the free throw, 1:03 remaining in the fourth.
Everybody coming in for the Junior Jays now. You got Ashton Zabka, Jackson Dasher, Garong Mathiong, and then Owen Shotkoski set to check in for Evans if he makes this.
Which he does.
And indeed he does. All free throws in the fourth quarter for Martell Evans as he checks out. That is 8 in the quarter for him, all from the charity stripe. In a game where Prep needed him to make most, if not all, of the ones he made.
1 minute to play in regulation. 50-34 Prep. Kwani, a fadeaway is missed.
Why not?
Rebound for Dasher. I don't think Bryan's going to bother fouling at this point.
I wouldn't either. Yeah, this game's probably in the books. It's a little bit like the last game these two teams played. It was competitive for a while, but eventually Prep was just able to pull away.
Shotkoski out to Dasher. Prep not looking to score here.
Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to hold it, but Bryan's still playing pretty good defense with 30 seconds to go in the game in hand.
Shotkoski with 28 seconds. Matiyang gonna take the three. Matiyang! He hits it from downtown, and it's a 19-point lead for Prep. Why not, Garang Matiyang?
I mean, you know, none of the starters have been hitting shots at all, so why not bring the bench guys in and have them hit some threes?
Foul was called against Prep on the other end, so an inbound here for Bryan. 15.9 to go. This is Kwani looking for 2 more points
He got
to
it.
close out his season and his Bryan career. He puts them home. Knight will dribble it out. Prep survives a weird and wacky ball game to advance to the district final. Wednesday night at 7 p.m. in the Hyder Center, Creighton Prep will play the winner of Lincoln Northeast and Grand Island as they beat Bryan 53-36 tonight. Brennan, final thoughts on this one?
Well, this game could have gone very differently. It was 38-32 when Prep got 2 consecutive calls on fast break layups going their way, and from there they were able to crush it. Free throws might no longer be a problem for Martell Evans, which is wonderful news heading into state. Casey O'Malley, I think, is fully back as a guy who can be the first or second option for the Junior Jays. And looking forward to calling the game Wednesday, I guess. Hopefully it's a little prettier than this one.
Yeah, for sure. So we will see then the A6 district final Wednesday night. Prep facing the winner of Grand Island and Lincoln Northeast, a game that will be over in just about 30 minutes or so down there in Lincoln. So stay tuned to that one. We will see you Wednesday night. Enjoy the rest of your evening, folks. Thanks for tuning in.